I've always loved old houses, the way the floorboards creak, the faint, dusty smell of history. It feels like they have stories to tell. So when I found an old Victorian mansion for rent, way out in the countryside and for a ridiculously low price, I jumped at the chance. The landlord, a nervous man named Mr. Abernathy, seemed a bit too eager to get rid of it. He mentioned something about the previous tenants leaving abruptly, but I chalked it up to the isolation. I was a writer. Isolation was exactly what I needed. The first few days were idyllic. I'd spend my mornings writing by a large bay window, watching the mist roll over the overgrown garden, and my evenings curled up by the fireplace with a book. The house was enormous, full of winding corridors and rooms I hadn't even bothered to open yet. It was on the third night that things started to feel off. It began with small things. A book I left on the coffee table would be back on the shelf. The rocking chair in the corner of my bedroom would be gently swaying, as if someone had just gotten up. I tried to rationalize it. The old house was settling. A draft, my own forgetfulness, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger each day. It was a cold, prickling sensation on the back of my neck, a shadow I'd catch in the corner of my eye that would vanish when I turned. One evening, I was exploring the second floor and found a locked door at the end of a long, dark hallway. Curiosity got the better of me. The keyring Mr. Abernathy had given me was huge, a tangled mess of old brass. After trying a dozen keys, one finally turned the lock. The door creaked open into what looked like a child's nursery. The air inside was freezing. A thick layer of dust covered everything. A small wooden crib, a collection of porcelain dolls on a shelf, and a child's rocking horse in the center of the room. The dolls were the worst. Their glass eyes seemed to follow me, their painted smiles looking more like sneers in the dim light. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me, so profound it almost brought me to my knees. I backed out quickly and locked the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I promised myself I wouldn't go back in there. That night, I was woken by a sound. It was faint at first, but it grew louder. Thump, thump, thump. It was coming from upstairs, from the nursery. It sounded like the rocking horse, moving back and forth, slowly, rhythmically. I pulled the covers over my head, telling myself it was just the wind, the old house making noises. But then, I heard another sound, a child's giggle. It was soft, but clear, echoing down the hallway. My blood ran cold. I lay there, paralyzed with fear, listening to the rocking and the occasional chilling giggle until the sun finally began to rise. Sleep was impossible. The next day, I was a wreck. I tried to write, but the words wouldn't come. All I could think about was the nursery. I kept the radio on, loud, just to drown out the silence of the house. The strange occurrences escalated. Doors would slam shut on their own. I'd hear footsteps running down the hallway when I was the only one home. Whispers seemed to ride on the drafts that snaked through the rooms. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen making tea when every single cabinet door flew open at once, crashing against the wood with a deafening bang. I screamed and ran outside, not stopping until I was at the edge of the property, gasping for breath. I knew I had to leave. This wasn't just an old house. Something was here with me, something that didn't want me here. I called Mr. Abernathy, my voice trembling. I told him I was breaking the lease, that the house was haunted. There was a long silence on the other end of the line when he finally spoke. His voice was heavy with resignation. "I was afraid of this," he said quietly. "Did you go into the nursery?" I admitted that I had. He sighed. "Her name was Lily," he explained. "She was the original owner's daughter. There was a terrible accident. She fell from the nursery window. Her spirit, it never left. She just wants someone to play with. The others, they all ran. I had hoped you would be different." He didn't sound angry, just deeply sad. That night I packed my bags, my hands shaking so badly I could barely zip my suitcase. I just wanted to make it through one more night. As darkness fell, the house grew quiet, too quiet. I sat on the edge of my bed, my packed car keys clutched in my hand, ready to bolt. Then I heard it, a soft, melodic humming. It was coming from the hallway. I held my breath. The humming grew closer, and a small, shadowy figure appeared in my open doorway. I couldn't make out any features, just the silhouette of a child in a long nightdress. It stood there for a moment, head tilted, just watching me. My heart felt like it was going to explode. The figure took a step into the room, and another. The air grew icy cold. It stopped at the foot of my bed. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. Then, a tiny, whispery voice filled the silence. "Will you play with me?" I don't remember getting to my car. I don't remember driving away. The next thing I knew, I was miles down the road. The sun was coming up, and the old mansion was just a speck in my rearview mirror. I never looked back. Sometimes, late at night, when my own house is quiet, I can still hear it, a faint humming, a soft giggle on the edge of hearing, and a whispery voice asking a question I can never answer. Will you play with me? I know she's still there, in that old house, waiting in the nursery, waiting for someone new to come and play forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay safe out there.